is going to be an interactive session. This is going to be an interactive session, and I will request you to keep your chat box open so that we can share ideas, thoughts, etc. with each other. So my name is Farzeen Ashik, and I have been a coach for the last 4 years. And before that, I was working in HR. So let's get started. All right. So, ooh, why doesn't this thing move? All right, here we go. So when it comes to coaching, now this presentation is all going to be about how can you build and sustain your coaching business. I'm going to share with you what I have done over the last 4 years to make my dream come true. I've had some ups and downs, I've made some mistakes, and I've learned from them, and this is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So I believe that we always need to start with our why. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this book by Simon Sinek, Start with Why. So as a coach, I found over the last few years, I've had to go back to my why. And I've had to ask myself, what is my why? This is one of the main reasons that I'm asking you this today. It needs to be clear as to what is your purpose? Why did you start coaching? So coaching can be very rewarding, but it's also very demanding. So your why has to anchor you. Did you start coaching because you wanted to help people grow? Did you start coaching because you wanted freedom from a corporate job? Or maybe you had set some financial goals for yourself and that's why you started coaching? So why you're doing what you're doing is very, very important. So it's key that you are clear about your motive as well as your mission. Next, let's move on to what are you going to do? Now, when it comes to coaching, we need to be really clear about what exactly we are going to be offering our clients. So when we think about the products that we are offering, our services that we are offering our clients, I encourage you to use a little bit of design thinking. So in design thinking, there are three main principles that you need to keep in mind when you are designing a service or a product. The first one is desirability. You got to ask yourself, is my service or my package or my product, is it desirable for my target audience? The second question that you need to ask yourself is feasibility. How feasible is it for you to deliver those services or products? Look at your time and your resources and then decide the feasibility. Thirdly, you have to ask yourself, now, is this a viable idea? Can I make money from it? Can I ask myself, is this a really good use of my time and my resources? Now, the service or product that you design, it needs to meet all the three requirements. It should be something that is desirable for your audience. It needs to be something that's feasible for you to do. And the third thing is it financially viable? Does it make business sense? So I would like you to make a note of this and look back at your products or your services and see, does it tick all the three boxes or are there some elements where it doesn't work? For example, you might have a service that you're offering, which is a great service, or you believe it's a great service and it's going to be really useful for your target audience. But when you go for a client meeting, you realize that they're not interested in service A, but they're interested in service B and C. And that might be a surprise. So it's very important for you to look at these three elements and see how does it apply to your products or services. Money is so important for us to know our worth. When we start off as coaches, it's so hard to understand what is our price, that what is the price that we must quote to future clients. I would encourage you to talk to other coaches about money. Ask them, understand what is the market like? What are the typical rates for coaching that you would find for different groups of clientele in your local market? It might be different for entry level folks. It could be something else for mid level managers, and it could be something different for senior executives or the C suite. So it's very important that you speak to people and get an understanding of what exactly is the market rate like. Now, when I started out, I was really shy to talk about money. And I've had a couple of, situations where I've gone in and I've, pitched to clients and I've offered a service and I've quoted too low. And they look at me like, are you for real? And surprisingly, they didn't take the offer because they thought that I was not credible enough and I was offering them a cheap service. And hence, it wouldn't have the quality that a person who charges more than me would deliver. So, this was a mistake that I made simply because I was shy to ask people about what is the rate, what is the range that I must quote. So, that's something which I would encourage you to get started doing if you haven't already done so. What I found useful for me is to have a sliding scale when it comes to rates, because a single price may not fit all pockets. And for me, I'm very focused on people development and growth. And I believe my belief is that coaching should be available for all. So that means that I give different rates to different target audiences. So I have a ceiling rate, which is the maximum that I charge, and I have a minimum rate as well, which is the minimum that I charge. So for individuals who are paying out of pocket, young people, starters, entry level folks, I charge a very small fee. Whereas for corporates or for senior officials, professionals, executives, it's a higher fee because it's more affordable for them. So you need to ask yourself, what would you like to do? And what is your purpose behind coaching? Is it for the money or is it for the hours? Or is it because you want to get the coaching experience because you're working towards your credentialing? So, the fee is not really important. Or so you have to ask yourself, what is the why behind it? Now, let's talk about your niche. So when I finished my training, towards the end of my training, actually, a lot of my fellow coaches were very clear about the niche that they wanted to have. Some of them they were like, oh, I'm going to be a life coach, or I'm going to be an executive coach, or I'm going to be a career coach, or I'm going to be a wellness coach, relationship coach. I mean, there were so many different kinds of coaches. And here I was new to coaching and I had no idea what to do. So, and I felt very lost. I was like, oh my God, why is it that I've finished almost a year of coach training and I don't know what my niche should be? And I was very worried, like I was doing something wrong or I wasn't able to get something that others were able to get. So I asked, I asked myself, like, what should I do? So I came from a healthcare background. So before I started coaching, I used to work as a head of HR for a healthcare group. So for the last 8 years, I had been working in healthcare. And in healthcare, as you know, you have generalists and you have specialists. So I decided that since I'm starting out, I was like a GP doctor, like a generalist, you know? So I would see all cases. I would be open to any kind of coaching, whether it's somebody who's coming in for relationship coaching or somebody who's coming in for career coaching or someone who wants to come in for leadership development coaching. I was open for business. I was just ready to take in whoever came my way because I was hungry to coach. I had done my training. I wanted to work towards my credential. I wanted to get the experience. I wanted to get the hours. And most importantly, I wanted to build the confidence that I could coach. So when I started out, I didn't have a niche. I was a generalist. I was like a GP doctor seeing all kinds of cases. Then what I realized is over time, I started enjoying certain kinds of coaching. There were certain kinds of clients that I liked coaching. And there were certain other kinds which I didn't feel as comfortable coaching. And over time, I started attracting the kind of clientele that I wanted to coach. And that helped me understand what my niche was, which was basically career coaching and executive coaching. So that's what I do now. But it took me a while to find my niche. So if you're like me and you don't know at the get go what your specialty is going to be or what your niche is going to be, don't get worried. Don't panic like I did. It will find you. You will find your niche. You will find the right kind of clientele who are attracted to you and the kind of clients that you enjoy practicing coaching with. Now, what sets you apart? This is really important because the world is flooded with coaches nowadays, right? So when you want to approach a client and seek a coaching contract, you have to ask yourself what sets you apart? What is your unique coaching style? Are you strategic or are you funny or are you tough loving or are you very intuitive? So what's your style? So it's very important for you to understand what your style is and to understand how this appeals to the target audience that you're looking at. And ask yourself this question. Why should they choose you? Out of all the other hundreds of coaches out there, why you? What makes you special? What makes you stand apart? Is it your personality? Is it your experience? Is it the fact that you have experience in a specific function or a specific sector? Is it because you have many years of experience and therefore it makes it easier for them to relate to you? Or is it because you're a fresh pair of eyes giving them new perspective? So I ask you to take a moment and think about it. Why should they choose you? Entrepreneurship, especially if you're an independent coach, is like being in a roller coaster. There are ups and downs, ins and outs, and there are some days where things are so busy, and there are other days when it gets really, really quiet. So this has taken me some time to get used to. And I've understood over the last couple of months that it's important to embrace a coaching mindset when it comes to your work as well as a coach. So we need to be agile, we need to be flexible, we need to be open to ups and downs, we need to be kind to ourselves. And when you have quiet months or quiet weeks, embrace those quiet days, use it to study, use it for your business development, use it to connect with people who are important in your life or for your business. And ensure that you keep learning and that you stay supported at all times. So I urge you to adopt a coaching mindset when it comes to building your coaching practice because you will need to be resilient. You will need to be agile and you will need to be open minded. Now, let's talk about where to find work as a coach. Well, there are plenty of coaching platforms that are available online that offer coaching services to many large corporates. And there are large consultancies as well around the world that offer coaching as a part of their services. What I found useful for me is I'm on a few of the coaching platforms. I do get clients from them. I've also tied up with some of the larger consultancies around the world. And when they have contracts, which include executive coaching or career coaching, they contract me to deliver those services for them. I also spend a lot of time reaching out to well established coaches around the world so I can collaborate with them for joint initiatives. I truly believe that there is a lot of power in collaboration. And especially if you are working as a solopreneur, it's all the more important that you focus on that. So if you are coach based in Oman, don't limit your market to just Oman. If you're a coach based in Belgium, don't limit yourself to just Belgium. Look around the world. The whole world is your oyster. And with the technology that we have available today, there are opportunities if we really go looking for them. So I encourage everyone to explore globally for many opportunities that are available. And we can be really smart about getting them. I cannot stress enough the importance of networking. This is something that I have learned just in the last 4 years that I've been an entrepreneur. Before that, I never attended any events. I never went for any conferences. I hardly knew anybody outside my place of work. And if you see me today, I'm a whole other person. And because I've put in the time and effort to overcome my fear of meeting new people. Because I feel that your network is definitely your network. A lot of the work that I get now has been through my network, through word of mouth, through referrals. Somebody gives me a single contract, I do a good job on it, and then she refers me to three other people, three other companies, or three other individuals, and so on. So I really believe that it's important to meet people, spend some time getting to know them, and allowing them to get to know you too as a person. So it's not like you go for a networking event and you just launch into, hi, I'm Farzeen, I'm an executive coach, and I develop leaders, and I help you transform your organization and reach your organization strategy in 3 months. I mean, okay, great, fantastic, but what about me is what the other person's thinking. So I encourage you to, when you go for networking events or when you go for any kind of conferences or large gatherings of groups, again, adopt the coach mindset, right? So let's be curious and be present, and let's try to really get to know the person standing in front of us. And most of the time, what I've found is that when we really make an effort to be genuine and we're really curious to know more about the person, then after a few questions and after a little bit of conversation, a normal human being will be curious to know more about you too. Of course, there have been cases where I've had a whole conversation with somebody or I've asked them a lot of questions and they've told me all about themselves and they've just not been interested to know anything about me. So that happens too. But most of the time, people will want to know about you as well because, hey, you've given a few minutes to them to tell you all about who they are and what they do and what's important for them. So likewise, they feel the need to reciprocate. So that's the first step, getting to know people, like really know them, not on a superficial level. Now, the second thing is it's important for people to like you and additionally for them to trust you if they have to give you business. So this is something which I learned from this book called The Prosperous Coach. Um, I'm sure many of you have read it. And it's something which really stuck with me that you need people to know you, to like you, and to trust you before you ask them for their money. And sometimes this takes a little bit of time. And it's very rare that you meet somebody and they immediately like you, and then you make a pitch and they immediately give you the money and say, okay, let's go ahead and get coaching. No, it doesn't usually work like that. It usually, you have a couple of meetings before you reach the end of the deal and you close it. So remember the 3 steps. Get to know them, get to know your client, get to know what's important for them, What's the challenge that they're facing? What's the pain point? What's the pain area? Make sure that you are genuine and they get to like you and they get to see your personality shine through your conversations with them. And you bring in your true coaching self where you're curious and present and you're really listening to them actively and build that connection with them, a trustworthy relationship where they feel comfortable to tell you what the real issue is and wherein they feel that, okay, this person can really help me overcome my problem or my challenge. And so I'm going to invest in coaching with this person. Master your pitch. It's very important that you ask yourself, how am I going to introduce myself to someone who doesn't know me at all? So I encourage you to write it down, a 30-second pitch, what who you are, what you do, and what makes you unique, what makes you stand out. So when you have to meet new people, it becomes easier for you to just introduce yourself without, any breaks or huffing and puffing. I also find that it's important for us to be generous. And especially in the Middle East, we find that a lot of times you have to give before you are asked. I'm sure it's similar in other cultures as well. I'm just speaking from my experience here in Oman. So it might be you might be asked to do maybe a short session on what coaching is, or you may be asked to do a free demo of coaching, or maybe an hour of pro bono coaching, something to get the other party interested and curious about what coaching is, what your style is, and what you have to offer. So before you make an ask, see if there's any value that you can offer them, which brings them to a point where they feel the need to reciprocate. This is the part which I don't like at all, which is all the admin and operations that you have to do. Now, being a solopreneur,
اسوي له
it
ماش
means
بوتيتو تريد انت ما تبغى
I think somebody needs to mute their. Okay, that's fine. All right, got it. So, yeah, like I was saying, admin and operations is also a very important part of running a business, running a coaching business. So, I urge you to block time in your week for admin. This is something which I learned the hard way. I had I used to put away things for the very end, and that kind of bit me, towards the end of the year when I had to settle my accounts and pay my taxes and all of that. So remember that you need to be really disciplined when you are a coach and you're working for yourself. So make sure that all your calendars are properly set, and that make sure that there are no missed meetings, there are no overlaps. Ensure that your invoicing is prompt and correct. And when it comes to invoicing, another point that I would encourage you to do is, let's say, for example, you charge $100 for your coaching session, right? Now you have a client who's paying maybe out of pocket, and you know that she can't afford $100 an hour for coaching. And you decided, okay, I really want to coach this person, and she really needs coaching. So you decide that, okay, you want to give it to her at a 50% discount and $50. Now, rather than just invoicing her for $50, I would encourage you to invoice her for $100, but mention there that it's a 50% discount and hence the total fee payable is only 50 and not 100. That way, your client knows what is the value of what she's getting with you. So somebody else will get a $100 payment, invoice, but she has been given a 50% discount simply because you felt that she was worthy of getting that discount. And she feels, oh, I'm not paying $100, I'm paying only 50, and I feel really great about it. And she probably talked to a few other people and get you more referrals. So this is something which I learned from another coach, that if you're giving a discount, mention that in your invoice as well, that you're giving a discount. Your notes. When it comes to coaching, I take notes with permission of my clients, of course, and I keep them. I used to have them as paper notes, and then I realized that this was very messy. very disorganized, and I struggled as my coaching clientele grew. So I've now switched to taking online notes, and that makes it much more organized and neater. And I'm able to go back and refer to older notes before every session, and it helps me to be a better coach because I have clear context and I know exactly what was discussed in the previous session, and it helps me to add better value when I'm having the coaching sessions with my clients. Now let's talk about attracting clients online. Very interestingly, today I listened to a podcast by Adam Grant, the organizational psychologist. And the podcast this morning was about personal branding and how we must not do personal branding. So I was very curious when I heard the topic because he made a case against personal branding. And, all we hear about these days is, oh, you need to have an online brand, and, that's how you attract clients, and that's how people know who you are, and how they come find you and give you business, and all of that. So I went ahead and listened to the entire podcast. And what really resonated with me is that he said, when it comes to branding, when you say the word brand, typically the word brand is associated with something which is like a corporate product, right? Like Nike is a brand, or Apple is a brand, or McDonald's is a brand, right? So we are not objects, we're not products, we're humans. So we are not these perfect creatures, right? We have our ups and downs. I mean, come on, are you the same person every single day? I mean, for me, there are some days where I'm like fully switched on, and there are some other days where I'm like, the energy levels are a bit low, the motivation is a bit low. So we are not these perfect creatures that we need to portray ourselves online as them either. So if you're a brand, you always have to come out and portray yourself as this perfect person who gets everything right and who does everything perfectly. So is online branding what you should be doing, or is it that you should be focusing on building a reputation? That was a question he asked, and that really hit a chord for me. And I thought, yes, that's what you want. You want to build a stellar reputation. You want people to see you as an expert in what you do, or someone who's striving to be an expert at what you do. So you share your learnings, you share your opinions, you share posts or content which is interesting for you. And it's not just about showing off, it's not just about bragging, oh, I did this training and now I'm a transformational coach. Or, I've done this new course in neuroscience and now I can just look at a person and I know what they're thinking, and vice versa. So rather than focusing on just achievements when it comes to online personality, your online persona, I would encourage you to think a little bit deeply and think, what is the kind of reputation that I want to create? When people look at me or look at my LinkedIn profile, what are they going to take away from it? What will they glean about me and my personality and what I have to offer? How do I show up to my clients? Again, when you think about online presence, there are so many different platforms on which you can show your presence. So LinkedIn, of course, is an online platform where you can reach out to clients, professional clients, even companies directly, the B2B platform as well. And then you have other informal platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well, that people are seen on. They talk, they post, they share reels, they share content which is important for them. Now, no matter which platform you are on, it needs to be decided by where your target audience is going to be. So if you are looking for clients who are, let's say, in a more professional environment, then you would need to be on LinkedIn because that's where they're going to be. If you're looking for clients who are mostly into, let's say, health and wellness and maybe spiritual coaching or relationship based coaching, then perhaps you have to look at other platforms, Facebook or Instagram, TikTok. So you got to ask yourself, who is my target audience and where do they hang out? Are they on LinkedIn? Will I find them on Instagram? Are they going to respond to a reel? Will they be more interested if I post something like a static post? So I've learned through trial and error. I've looked at the insights of the content that I post online to see, okay, what resonates with people, what people don't like, and then I've had to modify content accordingly. So what I've seen is that generally people they want information, they want learning. So if you're just going to repost an article or if you're going to repost a podcast or something, there's nothing new in that. I mean, they're just going to skim over it. Whereas if you are going to add your two bits to it as to why that article is being reposted by yourself, like what did you find interesting about it? Or what did you learn from it? Or how can you apply this at your work? That I find that those kind of posts resonate more with people. So it's important to be seen. It's important to show yourself as being active on an online platform because a lot of clients do go online and look up your profile and they want to see what you've been up to. At the same time, I encourage you to be kind to yourself. Don't chase likes, chase resonance. You're looking for people who resonate with what you have to share. If you have an opportunity to attend events and speak at events, please take it. Because this again improves your visibility. It gives people a chance to see your style, what kind of person you are, what's your personality like? Do they like what they see? Is this a coach who they would like to reach out to after the event, say, "Hey, coach, I want to talk to you, and I have something in my organization that I think maybe you can support me with." Or I personally, I'm going through a career transition, and I'd love to, have a call with you and see how we can put something together to help me through this transition period. So if you have an opportunity to build visibility, please do take it. This is not the time to be shy. Now, business development is something that's really important for entrepreneurs and for solopreneur coaches. So last year, I made the terrible mistake of not scheduling any time for business development. I spent all of my time in delivery. I tried to pack myself up with coaching and training and all kinds of other engagements. And then somewhere along the way, the leads dried up. And I found myself towards the latter end of the year, around September, without work. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? I was so busy. What went wrong? So when I went back, I couldn't figure out. I was like, did I make any mistakes? Did I make any of my clients upset? What went wrong? I just couldn't understand. And then I realized that I hadn't kept time aside for business development. You see, business development is something that you need to do continuously. You need to do it weekly or monthly. It needs to be done all the time. It's ongoing. So you have to set aside time for that. It could be if you're looking at a digital or online marketing, then you have to think about what kind of content do you want to post? Where do you want to post it? When do you want to post it? Nowadays, a lot of the platforms have options where you can schedule your posts, right? So you can keep, let's say, one day where you think about content that you want to share, and then you create the posts or reels, and then you schedule it, which can go over the next 3 weeks, for example. So you need to be organized with that. Now, what about in-person business development, right? Where you have to actually physically go and meet people. So in Oman, people love to meet you in person. They really love it. So if you request for an online Zoom meeting, they say, come to my office, come meet me. So you have to keep aside time to meet people in person as well. And it goes a long way in building up the rapport and strengthening the bond and the relationship that you have with them. So that's something that I would really encourage you all to set aside time for the business development. And it's something which, as entrepreneurs, because we're wearing so many different hats, we sometimes, drop the ball. But this is a glass ball and you mustn't drop it. So make sure you set aside time in your calendar to do a little bit of BD at least once in 2 weeks. And also remember, feedback is important when you are finishing a client engagement. Feedback is important. And sometimes some clients may not finish the entire coaching contract with you. They might just find that it's not connect, there is no chemistry, or somewhere along the way you've lost steam. I used to beat myself about it earlier. Oh my God, how is this possible? Why did this person not finish the contract? Why did they say they don't want to continue after 3 sessions? But then I learned that not every client will continue. Sometimes, you know, they don't. And that's okay. And we need to give ourselves that space and that acceptance that it's okay to not be able to finish a coaching contract if the client feels that there is no further need to continue it. And from that particular experience, let's learn and let's see what we need to tweak in our practice so that we can move forward more successfully. When it comes to long-term sustainability, I think the most important thing is that we need to stay agile. We need to be quick on our feet. We need to be like ballerinas, always twittering and twirling around. We can't be elephants in the room. We have to be agile. We have to be quick on our feet. We have to think, be innovative, be creative, because clients need different things. Very rarely do you find one offering that's a one size fits all for everybody. You have to customize your offerings for different kinds of clientele, different kinds of companies, different demographics, different cultures. So it's very important that you keep learning, you keep evolving. And that's why collaboration is really powerful, because you learn from each other. Now, last but not the least, I believe that as coaches, we are really powerful. We can really dream something that we are passionate about. We can design it, and we can just do it if we are consistent and if we are resilient. We can truly make our dream into a reality. So coaching is not just an art, it's not just a science, it's a craft, and it's a business. And I think when we start off as coaches, nobody prepares us for the business side of things. We're all focused on the core competencies and how to be a great coach and how to coach in the best manner possible, which is fantastic. I agree. But how to get clients and how to retain them and how to build a sustainable practice is also important. So you need to keep that in mind and set aside time and energy to keep your practice going. To build a solid, supportive network of friends, fellow coaches. The ICF Oman chapter is fantastic. We are really well connected and we keep each other going and we give each other a lot of strength and motivation when one of us is down. So it's really important that you have a supportive network. So stay true to yourself, stay kind, and stay curious. So thank you so much today for your time. So we are approaching I think the last 15 minutes. So I'd like you all to please, if you could share what is one insight or one takeaway, something that has resonated with you. I'd encourage you to please type it in the chat box if you like. And what's one small action or step that you'd like to take? Oh, I see that we have some questions.
Thanks.
So in the meantime,
Yes,
while we're answering questions,
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we have some
All right.
questions in the chat and then we have a raised hand. Let me start with the
Okay.
questions in the chat. So the first
Sure.
question
Okay.
is, have you published both minimum and maximum charges on your website? And how do you prevent people from not booking the minimum rate?
Okay. So no, Purva, I have not published on my website what my minimum and maximum charges are. In fact, I haven't put any rate on my website. Honestly speaking, it's custom pricing, right? And the pricing is confidential. So I encourage people to contact me, book a discovery call, and then that's when we discuss the pricing after the discovery call.
Thank you. Gabriela asked, regarding the fee, do you make it public or is it disclosed later on? So you've already answered that question.
Yeah.
Okay. And Raya says, do you have any specific coaching platforms you joined before ACC credentials? Because it is a real challenge.
Yeah, Gaia, it is a real challenge to find coaching platforms, especially if you don't have credentials. So, to be honest, I didn't join any before I got my credentials. In fact, I got most of my coaching hours through my ICF Oman chapter. So, we had several initiatives, community outreach initiatives, where we got a chance to coach real people in the community. And so that's how I was able to get my hours for both for my ACC as well as for my PCC. So unfortunately, none of the coaching platforms were of any help to help me with the hours for coaching. It was my chapter that helped me to get there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Mohiba, please ask your question.
Yeah, I need, first of all, to thank you for this absolutely fantastic presentation. It's
Agreed.
fantastic because it comes from the heart. It comes from your personal experience. We can go on ChatGPT and bring in the best presentation. Best for whom? Best for whom? Best for boredom because it doesn't resonate. Yours comes from the heart, goes into the heart. Because it reminds me of my own messy papers and then I move out. Of not having a calendar and move out. Of my wish, my dear, dear, deep wish for collaboration. Every time I've met someone, I've talked of collaboration. And you are right. Just like when you go for lower prices, people think, oh, it must be because you're not worth much. When I speak to people about collaboration, people think, oh, poor thing, she must be lost. I'm not poor thing. I'm not lost. I love collaboration. I want to give and get whatever comes back because there's always something that comes back. This is what I wanted to say from the very depth of my heart. The one question I ask are the questions you ask. Simple, authentic, and very, very important. And you remind me of pricing because this has been, and I love the way you put it when you said we are taught coaching and it's never mentioned. Money is never mentioned. And then you realize it is your thorn. It's the pain point of most of coaches, particularly new coaches. What is going to be the pricing? And whenever I have asked in my life for the last years, just tell me what is, as you mentioned, floor and ceiling rates. You know, I've asked this question once to a group of 100. You know who gave me an answer? I was the only one to finally give an answer. I said, look here, I think that, the floor is this, the ceiling is that. I never got an answer, neither back nor forth. So, yes, we need to be more transparent, not about ourselves. We don't need to say, my rates are this. We need to be more authentic and tell people, in Oman, it's between this and that. Oof, what a
Yeah.
relief. People say, oh, at least I'm not being crazy in asking too high or too low. But thank you so much for this soothing, pleasant presentation. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Dr. Mahia. I'm really happy to hear that it resonated with you. Thank you so much.
I
Thank
have
you.
posted a link in the chat for everyone to give us the feedback. And I would also like to request everyone if they can come on the screen, on the camera. My marketing and PR lady is ready with to take the shot for the social media. Please request everyone if you can come for a minute on the camera. I would also like to let you know that you will be getting 1 CCE for the session attended today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That's really nice. We have audience from Sri Lanka, Georgia, Croatia, Belgium, Dubai, Malawi, and Berlin. Of course, Dubai and Oman. So that's really great to have you all here. Fatima, we are all ready and smiling for you.
There's also Uganda.
Oh, yeah, I missed
Oh,
Uganda. Yeah.
Africa. Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
That was
so much.
awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time.
Wow.
Fatima, let us know when we
When should we give you
are
our fabulous
captured.
smiles?
Yeah, sure. 1, 2, and 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would now like to
Thank you.
invite the President ICF Oman chapter, Carolyn Phillips, to please give us a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Anjana. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and for making this effort of ours so very special with your presence. Farzeen, Dr. Mahiba said it, but I'll say it again. It's been a long time since I heard a refreshingly honest, real, straight from the heart, really straight from the heart. Much of what you gave us really goes unsaid a lot of the time. So thank you for this honest, beautiful session, which served, I'm sure, as reminders for us all. Anjana, thank you for putting the session together. Thank you for all your behind the effort scenes. A special thank you to the ICF Oman board team. None of it would be possible without each and every one's effort in bringing the International Coaching Week live to all of you here. But most importantly, it's the guests here, the participants here. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much it means to ICF Oman to have you all with us, and we really look forward to having your engagement much more in the future. Once again, thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful rest of the day, evening, night ahead. Stay safe. See you again really soon.
Thank you. And we hope to see
Thank
some of
you.
you for the next session at 7 p.m. in Arabic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.